Alright. Hello. This is just, a thing that I've been wanting to do for a while. All I'm really gonna do is just sit here and talk, just spout some random shit for however long as I exist. Just talk about whatever the fuck comes to my mind. But before all that, hello, welcome. How are you? Good, I hope. If not, I hope it gets better. Welcome. I hope you've had a lovely day. If you haven't, everything's about to change. Because now you're here. And honestly, I don't think it could get much better than that. That's just my opinion. No, it's also a fact. Because from here onwards, you're about to be listening to me ramble about shit that you won't even care about. But who the fuck cares? I don't care. That's why I've been talking now for about a minute and haven't really said anything of actual substance, which is entirely what I was aiming for with this anyway. This is mostly just like a background noise type thing. I'm just talking. You can tell I'm not putting any effort into talking. There's, like, I sound like I'm just alive. At the bare minimum, at least. But yeah, what's the first thing I'm going to talk about? Fuck it. I want to complain. Games. I love them. And I feel like sometimes there's so many games to play, it gets a bit overwhelming, you know? There's not really much room for having breaks with certain games today. Some games require your attention nigh impossible amounts. 24/7 fucking, you must log in, you must do this, you must get this. Destiny, well, you know, that's a good example. I used to love Destiny. Played Destiny 1, all the DLC. Great game. Love Destiny 1. Destiny 2, I think, off launch, was pretty good. I think overall as a game. I still prefer Destiny 1. That will never change, especially with how Destiny 2 is now. But with Destiny 2, it sort of went in a weird direction, because I felt like the base game story was good. It was okay. Like, it was in no way was it any better than Destiny 1. Destiny 1, I feel, had a story. It wasn't the most interesting story, but it was still a story, right? Destiny 2 had a bit more going for it, I would imagine, or at least I feel like it had a bit more to work with because of everything that had happened in 1. But, you know, again, that's not even what I'm trying to talk about. I'm not talking about. Anyway, I've completely gone off rails. Destiny 1, great game. Destiny 2 on launch, good game. The DLCs that came out with Destiny 2, at least like the first 2 small expansions, they were pretty good. They were alright. They weren't life-changing. Kind of didn't like the Osiris one all that much. Segiro was cool, though. Rest in peace. Or at least I think. See, that's the thing. I don't know. Anyway, Forsaken came out. It was well regarded. It was a pretty good DLC. I think most people loved it. If not, at the very least, liked it. And then, what came out after Forsaken? It wasn't the fucking Moon DLC, was it? Because that was, like, kind of extremely underwhelming. I feel like, what actually came out after Forsaken? You know what? Let's Google this. Let's look this up. Because I actually don't remember for the life of me. Let's just have a look at this. What DLC came out after Destiny 2 Forsaken? Let's have a look. I don't really care about what came in during the fucking Destiny 2 Forsaken season. I want to know what came out afterwards. Because I feel like the Forsaken time with Destiny was pretty good. Why is it not telling me? what came out. This is unhelpful. All Destiny... It was Shadowkeep. Yeah. Okay, so Shadowkeep, I remember being really kind of underwhelming. I didn't have too much fun with it. I thought it was kind of boring, but that's okay. Again, not really talking about the story or anything here, but mostly just the pressure to have to feel like you have to play the game, because it went from you have access to all this content and the story to now you actually have no longer got access to any of this story or content, as far as I'm aware at least, because last I checked they were sunsetting like most things, which makes it a pain in the ass, because you pay for the base game story, I do believe no longer exists, unless you can play it now. I don't know. I don't touch Destiny 2 anymore, but, you know, anyway, like I was saying, once you get to a certain point in Destiny 2's history, it got too hard to manage, or at least to follow the story, if you weren't actively either playing the game or at least watching story content on it. And the reason for that is because they started doing these season things, right? And with these seasons, if you didn't play during the season, you didn't get to see specific story events unfold. You would come back to the game after, let's say you took let's say half a year break. You come back half a year later, this character is dead, this massive event has happened, you're now in like a space alliance with the Cabal, or you're suddenly like on your knees for the Emperor. You know, some strange stuff's going on. And I think that's, again, if you're constantly playing the game, I'm sure that's fine, but that's the issue. I don't want to constantly play one game and only get like little tidbits of fucking reward and then all of the story be there. I don't know, I worded that completely wrong actually. What I wanted to say was I want to actually put my time into something that I feel is worth it when I want to do it. I don't think I should be pressured into having to play this game during that specific season to then experience a story that I have been part of since the first game. Because it all contributes to the main story that the first game was telling. But then if you don't play the game during specific seasons, that's too bad. You've missed out now on certain bits of story where a major character, or at least a character that has been around for a fucking long time, ends up getting killed. And you don't really find out until you launch the game, go to where they usually stand, and find that they are in fact not there. And you're like, oh, okay, what the fuck happened there? Then you search it up and you're like, oh, they're dead. Okay. And an explosion. Cool. It's really weird. Or like you suddenly have Saint 14 back out of nowhere and you walk into the ship hangar and you see him and you go, this is interesting. What the fuck happened here? And I don't know, it just feels, it's hard to follow. I think, and don't get me wrong, I play gacha games, right? So I'm used to events coming up, and then you have near a month, or at least to try and complete these things. And that's fine, because I feel with certain gacha games, a lot of the time it's not incredibly important to the story. Sometimes it might have little bits of actual decent lore drops here and there where it's, you know, relatively interesting towards the story. But a lot of the time I feel like it's not. But when you have the model that Destiny 2 goes for, where it's in seasons and it focuses on specific things, and you miss out on that season worth of story, I then personally kind of feel like I don't have the motivation to continue with the game at that point. Because I am no longer there. I've missed out on so much. Why? I'm no longer invested. Because how do I get myself back into that? And also the game is just not how I like it. I don't know. It's hard to explain. There's something about how the game feels now that it doesn't capture how it felt for me previously. And that's fine. That happens. That could literally just be how I've changed, right? For the story side of things, how it like the time pressure, I don't like that. But with gacha games like, let's say Girls Frontline 2, for example, because that's one that I play rather frequently, they do a shitload of events. And I am of the opinion that some of the events have some really excellent storytelling that are relevant to the story, but you really don't know how it fits in just yet because the main plot hasn't really gotten to that point, or at least not to my knowledge it hasn't. But some of it's really good. And then some of it is just really fucking uninteresting and boring. And you sit there and you read it and I don't know, it's like, and I'm just, like I said, I just want to complain. So I'm going to complain. There was one story event with Girls Frontline 2 where the writing just suddenly felt really inconsistent to the rest of the series, and that really just threw me off. It was the one where they reintroduced, I don't know how to pronounce her new name, hold on a second. That sounds bad. Anyway, Type 97. I'm just going to say Type 97. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Chihua? I don't know. Anyway, point is, they introduced her. I like her character. I don't think there was anything wrong with her. I will, however, say, I felt like the writing for that event was just not interesting to me personally. And it just had a completely different tone. Or not just tone, but the whoever was translating it at the very least, I feel did not do a stellar job. I was reading it and I was going, why are they suddenly just saying random shit like, well, I daren't say. I mean, they're not even terrible words, but, I believe they said like, ye old R word, rhymes with lemon tart. And then what Borderlands 2, or Borderlands before Borderlands 3 called what do they call them? Tinkers or something? Tinkerers? The little enemies in Borderlands, what they would call them in Borderlands 2, if you don't know what I'm talking about. Small characters. Begins with M. Anyway, for some reason, and again, I don't mind seeing that in my games. I think in media, you will see these things, and that's just how it is. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. I feel if it fits the writing and the world, sure. And I'm not going to deny it. Like the Girls Frontline 2 world, it is sure it's a vast world. There's going to be many different characters, and I don't mind it. But it just felt so unnecessary and I don't know, out of place. And I just didn't really enjoy the writing for that one event. Again, that could just be me, but I thought it was kind of underwhelming, especially after such a good event that we had previously, with the whole, like racing thing, and the what was it? Whole MP5 storyline with Springfield and all that stuff. I thought that was really good. That was really cool. And then we get that, and it's like, oh, this is underwhelming. And then what came afterwards with Niketa, I believe, was the event that followed that. That was good. I enjoyed that. I thought that was decent as well. But then sometimes, obviously, you play through it, and I just don't have the motivation to read any of it or play it, but I don't want to miss out on the rewards. So I will just go through and I'll be like, yeah, I'm just going to skip all the cutscenes. And then, literally, you've got Klukai, you've got Vector. You have any, immediate, massive AoE damage character, you win in one turn. You don't need to do fucking anything. Zero effort required. You just pop, done, next mission. And I think that is incredibly boring. I could just make it harder for myself, sure, but why would I? I just want to get through it and get it done. What I think they should potentially do for events like that, or just story, is give people the option to use certain characters at a level that would make it challenging, like the trial character stuff that they do for some of the challenges. Do that for the story, and also give us the opportunity to use our own characters if we really want to. So that way people who want to use the characters that are part of the story can get the experience with that there. I don't know, again, this is just me shooting from the hip. I'm sure plenty of other people have said this exact same thing, but now I'm saying it, so it has more credence to it because I said so. But I don't know, I feel like there's so much more you could do there rather than just have it be, yeah, I'm going to launch this game and finish the event in probably 2 minutes because I don't want to read. And the actual gameplay lasts for about 10 seconds, if that. Cool, alright, that's my stuff done. Let me go into the dormitory, let me quick use 120 of my little daily points that allow me my energy to get some materials to then finish off my dailies really quickly in the supply missions, and then I can get my little collapse crystals, and then I'll pull, and then, I don't know, I think daily stuff like that is fine, and there's different amounts of pressure on different things with the whole timed event stuff, right? With gacha games like that, the only time you feel the pressure is not for the story, but mostly for characters and, well, in gacha sometimes, especially if it's like Hoyo games, you've got weapon, character, or character, and then some gear that goes with it. But with Girls Frontline 2, it's the character and then the weapon. And then they pair it together because they, it's the, weapon and the character that love each other very much. Anyway, so point is, I don't like time pressure, but I do like the game, regardless of the sheer amount of complaining that I've just done about it, right? Anyway, so with gaming, it's hard to pick between which time pressure game do I play. You could just alternatively say, well, don't play it. Well, you're right. You have a very good point. I don't play Destiny 2, so it is a non-problem. It's not even an issue for me. But I would have liked to been able to launch Destiny and go through what I've missed. But you can't. That's more my point, I suppose. At least with some gacha games, I know, I believe Star Rail and Zenless do this. You can go through previous events' stories, and I just don't know if you get the rewards. And I know with Girls Frontline 2, they're implementing the previous events into the main game's story and in the previous event things, slowly but surely. But yeah, that's just something that happens. What else? I mean, I really have just been complaining for 18 minutes, huh? Good fun. But I don't know. I think, what else? What else can I complain about? Good question. Well, maybe I shouldn't complain. What do I like about... What do I like, actually? You know what I do like? Sometimes when I find a game that I really like, and I get heavily addicted to it, which is very rare. In fact, you know what? I'm not going anywhere with that. I very rarely... You know what? I'm just going to be negative. I very rarely get addicted to games. I will find a game that I really like, and then I will probably play it for at least... 10 hours maybe at most, at first. I think the only game this year that I actually got relatively heavily into and played a lot of in such a short amount of time was Uma Musume. And even then I only got 80 hours on the game, and then I've kind of hardly opened it. Not because I don't think it's fun, because I still think it's fun, but you get to a certain point in that game, or at least I have personally, where I feel I've done all I really can yet. There's new characters that come out, and I've tried pulling for them, and I've gotten lucky here and there, but more often not, which is just how gachas work. But I don't mind that, because at least with Uma Musume, the characters and the cards that come out end up in the base pool for a lot of these things, which is fine. And then you just have a chance of pulling them randomly. Obviously not at the increased rate they are when they're on the banner, which is fine, but you know what? Who cares? Because at this point, just give me horse. But you can sort of, or at least how do I put this? When you are playing the game, there's a few things you can do. Obviously, you've got all the daily ones, and then you've got the special cups and the special races that come up here and there. But the main campaign where you raise the horses through the races, I feel is... I can only do that so much before I get kind of tired or at least bored of doing. I went from doing multiple playthroughs to one at least maybe a week. And that's just mostly because I'm not aiming to get like a 3 or 6 star sparks on specific things, or I'm not maxing my horse potential, if you will. But that's mostly because I go through and I use a horse. I get the horse to the complete victory, complete the career, and then win the URA finals. And I go, well, that was a good run. And then past that, I don't really care. The reason I don't have too much or as much fun with doing it now is because it's sort of just become the same thing over and over and again. I do a run, I level these specific things every time, and then win. There's no difficulty to it like when you first play it. Like, sure, every now and then you'll have a run that just goes horrifically, and that sucks. But then you're like, well, whatever, the next one I'll just win anyway, so I'm not really too upset. But that happens very, very rarely. But I think at some point, as far as I'm aware, they introduce new career races, or at least different story things for it. I'm hoping. Because, the game's been out in Japan for, I think it's 5 years. If I'm remembering correctly. So you've got a lot more content on that side compared to what we have here. And we're fast-tracked on the global servers, I believe, to try and catch us up at a relatively decent pace while not trying to overwhelm us. But again, it's fine. Doesn't really matter. But I don't know. I feel like I can only do so much while it's not challenging me before I get a little bit bored of doing the same stuff over and over again. And that's just me. Like, I don't like doing the same task repeatedly. I find it to be incredibly boring or tedious. But sometimes it does something right. Again, I'm not saying Uma Musume is boring. It's not. I've just had my fill for the moment. Once there's new career options, different cups and whatnot, then I will probably get back into the game and get more races going there. Because then you've got more content to see, like more concerts, more songs, a lot of idol dances, which is fun. Horses, story. Maybe that's just, what I need. Or at least that's what I'm hoping I need, because heaven forbid the new race comes out and then it just isn't as hard or challenging as what I would hope it would be. Because I imagine it would be, right? And here's me just now realizing that there's the potential that it changes fucking nothing. But that is just how it is. Again, this isn't me ragging on the game. I think it's a lot of fun. I do like it. But with me at least, I can get bored of things when it comes to games very easily. Which is why I kind of prefer single-player games for the story. Because once I play through a story, I do not feel compelled to pick the game back up and play through it multiple times, unless it's a JRPG or a game that has multiple endings that don't require me to put in a strange amount of effort, right? For something weird. Because I've played games like, we'll use Neptunia as an example. Sometimes they require you to do some fairly strangely, not so much tedious stuff, but some zombies Easter egg level of strangeness, right? Where you're like, oh, okay, you want me to do this specific action before I go and do this specific thing. Okay, sure. And then that unlocks the true ending or whatever. And I think that's fine. If I really like a game with a single player game with a good story, there's every chance I will play through it again, but it's very unlikely. I like being able to pick up a game, finish it, put it down, and then not think about it other than how much I enjoyed it. Persona 3, for example, Reload at least, I haven't had the pleasure of playing the original yet. I thought is phenomenal. Loved that game. It is absolutely, like, my favorite game, hands down, of all time. My favorite series is Metal Gear. I will, and again, that's like my exception. I will play through Metal Gear multiple times. I love the Metal Gear series, always will. It is my favorite game series. But my favorite game of all time is Persona 3 Reload. That game made me feel so many emotions and connected with me on a nice, deeper level than most things tend to. And I think that's mostly because of its whole concept being around and about death with a lot of its writing. And for me, at least, I know a lot of people probably, I say a lot of people probably, a lot of people would share the same fear of their mortality or death, right? And I think the game sort of helped me come to terms with that in a sense. And it also made me cry quite a bit, actually. The ending that I got with the social links that I had, really, genuinely, it was beautiful. It was such a beautiful thing to experience at the end. And I am hesitant to play through it again because I don't know if it will give me the same experience. I value experience. But then again, I also just really liked the game. So, yeah. But I don't know. Again, it's all random shit, you know? Because I like it that much. I'll probably play through it again at some point, but I don't know. It's like watching a show you really like, right? If it makes me feel a certain way, and I'm watching it, and I'm loving it, and it makes me happy, that experience to me is the only experience I want with that. I don't want to go through and watch it again, because I don't think I'll have the same experience. And that is not something that I like the thought of. Because the first experience is always the main experience, I feel. For me, at least. And I'm not saying I can't go back to something that maybe I didn't like and try to re-experience it with a new mindset and then like it then. Because that's always a possibility. But with a game that really touched me, or any media that touches me, I don't feel like I should go back and play it because I don't want to overwrite the first experience I had with the game or show, and completely, I know I won't lose that first experience, but it just, to me, wouldn't be the same. You know, like, everything you do on the first playthrough or a first watch of a series is so fresh and new and nice, and I love that feeling. And then, as you know that you're slowly getting towards the end, there's this nice bittersweet feeling that I love feeling. And just going through it is great. I don't think I would be able to go through something like that a second time round and then have it feel as special. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Anyway, I'm done rambling now. I feel like I completely went off the rails. This is what I wanted to do, though. Just talk. Have nothing really be coherent or even important or relating to anything that I spoke about. Just talk and see what happens. Call it a day. Happy birthday. Happy Halloween. Fucking hell yeah, epic, cool, and shit like that. Anyway, thanks for listening to me ramble if you did. Have a lovely rest of your night, day, afternoon, evening. Go drink water, go eat dinner, go eat lunch, go eat breakfast. Stay safe. Toodles.